desk because he knows how I really don't like being up here. But I want to piggyback just a little bit off of Dee. I didn't have anything as severe as Dee's cancer, but having ITP was definitely a struggle, and I definitely had those moments where I didn't know what was going to happen, but like Dee, I trusted that God had a plan and he was in control. Even if I couldn't see it right then and there, he was there. He was there to comfort not just me, but comfort my family and my friends who were walking through that with me. And then, so I didn't have as aggressive a treatment as Dee's, but mine was long. Where it wasn't aggressive, it was a long treatment because, oh gosh, let's see, I don't even remember how long I had. I was diagnosed in 2003, and I wasn't officially declared in remission until after I got married. And so that was a long journey, and there's lots of crying, lots of praying, but it gave me the opportunity to grow closer to God than I ever had before. Because, I had other moments in my life where I would lean on God, but I would have to say that was the moment where I grew the absolute closest to him in the shortest amount of time. Because when, the doctor's telling you that had you not come in to the emergency room, you wouldn't have lived to see the next morning because you're losing that much blood that fast. That kind of sobers you up to the reality of how fleeting life is, and how to not take it for granted. And it's something that a lot of people, it's a perspective, I'll say, that most people will never really fully understand until they've gone through something like that, either for themselves or with somebody that they're very close to. But I thank God that he was there with me through all of the steroids, all of the chemo treatments, through the surgeries, and that he walked with me through that whole time. And the one thing that I vividly remember is that he always, in his gentle and subtle way, reminded me that I just need to focus on him. Let him do the rest, but focus on him. And when I did that, I noticed that my treatments went a lot better. When I was having to stay in the hospital for a week, when I would go in and I've got my notebook and I've got my Bible and I'm reading his word and he's speaking to me, telling me, once again, I've got this. I know it doesn't look like it, but I've got this, and I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know exactly where I need you to be. And so, I thank God that he allowed that illness to happen in my life to bring me closer to him. And similarly, being a single parent to an autistic child was another way that he brought me closer to him. It's not something that many people will understand, and every child is different. Every child is different, and every autistic child is different. None of them are the same. So, if you ever hear someone say that, they obviously have never either dealt with an autistic child or anything. But having him and being a single mom with the help of my mom, and my aunt, you know, it's an experience. Because while I had him, I was working, I was going to school, and life was hard. I mean, I know everyone knows some experience of life being hard, but that was a different type of hard that you're not used to. And so while the hard of being ill was one experience, the hard of being a single parent was a completely different experience. But they both landed me in the same place. They both brought me closer to God, because when I found out I was pregnant, I knew abortion was completely off the table. That was not even an option. And I was fortunate enough to have a doctor who was a Christian and knew me well enough to know that that was not even an option. You know, they have to ask you anyway, but he's like, I already knew it wasn't an option, but I have to ask, is that even a consideration for you? And it was an emphatic no. He's like, I feel that gets everything out of the way. But you know, he spoke words of encouragement. He told me how strong I was, and told me that it is highly doable to have a child and still have life. And I did. You know, I think some people may not agree, but I think I've had a very, very great life. I've had a very great life my entire life, because even though I was raised by a single mom, I had a better life than the kids who had everything that they wanted and had both parents in their life. I had a mom who loved me and doted on me and gave me lots of stuff, hugs, kisses, loves, everything that I needed. And so I had a very blessed childhood, which led to a very blessed life. And you know, I was fortunate enough in the fact that even though I didn't have a father, I did have a second parent. I had my aunt, who did not have any children of her own, but she completely stepped up and was my second mom, and still is my second mom. Because there's plenty of times when I didn't feel like I could go to my mom with certain things, and I would go to my aunt. So I still had two parents that I could go to, and I knew that it was totally possible from that experience to successfully be a mom to this little boy that God had decided to give me. You're not helping. You know that. But he's definitely given everybody in his life a roller coaster. It's been one roller coaster of a ride, and the fact that he's almost 20 now means I must have did something right, because he lived.
He's alive.
Yeah, he's alive. He's very much alive, and
Dead body like.
he's healthy. So finally gaining some weight. I'm happy about that. Doesn't look like I have a starving child from a third world country. That's a blessing. But God has taught me, and still continues to teach me, so many different things. And I will say that the number one lesson, and I'm sure it's not just with autistic children, but definitely with autistic children, patience. Something I don't always have. But God gave me the opportunity when He gave me my son to practice that every day. Some days I'm successful. I think I'm successful at it. I would say I'm successful every day because, like I said, he's still living. But there's some days and sometimes I just fail. And while I know that God doesn't have those failure days, I'm sure that I, as His child, have put him in a position where he's just shaking his head like, what did I do wrong? And so, when I look at my son the way that God looks at me, then I know that everything's going to be okay, and I know he's going to be fine, and I know that it doesn't matter what the world or other people throw at us, it's going to be okay. And God has, from day one, when I was in my bedroom praying, saying, God, the only way I'm going to be able to get through this is with you. It's going to have to be all three of us, Landon, me, and you. And that's the only way I'm going to get through this. When I was praying to Him for that, and He told me then He'd be with me. He's still with me today, because there's still challenges, there's still obstacles, there's still good days and bad, even though he's almost grown. There's still good days and bad. I know that everything's going to be okay because God's with us. And my words to anyone else would be, it doesn't matter what situation that you're in, and it doesn't matter how grim it looks, how it doesn't look like everything's going according to plan. It's going to be okay. God can always use the worst situations to bring out the best in people and to bring His glory to the world. And He has definitely done that through my illness and through my son. So, keep looking up. And I'm just looking forward to the day when we get to go home and we get to just finally be at rest. We'll be having champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
Not on a beer budget either.
Yeah, not on a bigger budget. Woohoo! And I made it through without crying.